Lesson 8, and we're going to resume with building out a shared header and footer in our Lamp Food site. So we've built a sample header, but now we want to build a real header. So let's go ahead. We're going to make a new PHP file, and I'm going to call this one header.php. Go ahead and make a new file. So we want this file to appear at the top of the pages in our site. So when we're looking at, for example, our grocery list, we want a header, as well as when we're adding or editing on our item details, we also want the shared header here as well. We'll be building other pages into the site over the next few weeks, so all of them are going to share this header. Now there are some tags in here we can get rid of. Which tags should we get rid of if this page is going to get embedded near the top of our page? Which section of this can we remove? Okay, well, we'll come back to that question. Okay, let's talk about this. This is a good point. We could, Megan, we could remove this section here, right? Because our other pages already have, like our items and items details, right? They've already got head sections, which we don't want to duplicate. So we should be getting rid of the head section and doc type in HTML from somewhere. Should we remove it from the individual pages, or should we remove it from the header? Both would work, but one is going to be a lot more efficient. Adil, you think we should remove it from the header and keep it on the individual pages? Or do you think we should keep it in the header and remove from the individual pages? Okay, keep in the header. So Preston and Adil think keep it in the header. Any other opinions? Really, all of these tags from doc type right down up to and including the body. Okay, Chris, that's a really good point. We do have unique title tags, so yeah, we'll need to deal with those. Any other opinions? There isn't necessarily a right and a wrong here. So the title tags is definitely one consideration. Every page needs a unique title, so that's going to be challenging if we move this. However, if we look at the individual pages, if you look at the head section here, from looking at this suggests to me it might be more efficient to move this section to header.php. How come? I mean, Chris, you're raising a valid concern about the titles, and we'll come back to that. But what's in the header on these pages? Remember, we want to not repeat ourselves as much as possible. Right, Megan. So we've got our style sheet as well as JavaScript links. So if we keep the head tags on the individual pages, we have to repeat these links on every single page. If we add a new style sheet, we're going to have to go into every single page and add that head section. And typically the head sections are quite large. So I would suggest we're better off moving this to our header.php. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take out from my items.php, I'm going to I have a workaround that I think I'm going to show that you know what, there's nothing wrong with that solution. If you want to do it that way, absolutely, you could make two separate includes around the title. I have a solution for the title that I'm going to show as well, and you're free to use either method. So I'm going to copy the Bootstrap CSS and our JavaScript link. I'm going to copy those from items. I'm going to paste them in the header. I'm just going to leave this like this for right now. There is something in this page I can take out. What can come out of the header? What code doesn't belong at the top of each page? We will actually want the title. Good guess, Megan, but there's a couple other, some other things on here that should not be at the top of each page, because they'll need to go at the bottom of each page instead. What's in this file that we're looking at? No, the script can go in the header. That's okay, Taryn. We used to put them at the bottom, but they can go in the top. But what tags indicate here this is the bottom of the page? That's right, we can defer the script. But I'll leave that part for now. There's certain tags here that go at the end of a page. Which lines are those? Right, Taryn, that's what I was getting at. We don't want these in the header. This is not a complete web page, so we do not need to close the body and HTML tags. So let's take those out. Now we'll deal with the page title in a minute. It is a good point that has been raised about the title that Chris and Adil made, but we'll deal with that. So here's the header from the doc type down to and including the body so far. Now I can go to items and I can get rid of everything from the body tag up. So all of this code from the doc type, the whole head section, and the opening body tag, these things we now have in the header, so I can take them out of here. And what would I replace this with? How do we embed the header here instead? So we just want to link in our header here using any one of the four functions we mentioned earlier in the first hour of class. So I could just include my header so that has everything right up to and including the opening body tag. So I'm going to put that here. We won't see any changes, right? Page looks exactly the same. When I view the source, I have my doc type. So all this is our header.php. I'm going to do the same thing on my item details. I'm going to take out everything from the body up. Whoops, sorry, we have some PHP code at the top. So I actually just want to take out from the doc type to the body. I'm going to remove these lines. And again, I'm going to include my header. I've already got a set of PHP tags, so at the bottom of them, we'll include header.php. So there's no more HTML doc tag, head, title, or body tags. So this works, except it's removed the page titles. So we have to fix that. Yes, thanks, Ivan. So you suggested we could use require. You could use require or include. So I want to deal with the page titles now. Right now, they're just hard-coded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the page title into a variable. So before we include the header on any page, we're going to set the page title. So I'll put in lamp food. Now my code editor doesn't like this. It says doesn't know what page title is. That's okay. So I'm going to change the title tag in the header. I'll put it in the chat. So our page title is now going to be a variable. Each page is going to then set this variable before the header gets included. So on my items page, before I call include, I'm going to set the page title variable to be grocery list. We'll see how that works. So now it says lamp food. I've got my little pipe symbol here. And then it renders my page title. So this variable gets shared by the include file, which is going to help us with our database connection as well. So now I want to set the page title here on item details as well. I'll give it a different value. I won't call it grocery list before we include the header. Let's call it item details. So now when I go to add, my page header says lamp food item details. On our list, it says lamp food grocery list. So any page we make, when we make a login page, we make a register page, we're going to have to include a page title variable. So Adil, you suggested breaking it up into separate includes. I'd never thought about that before. That's a creative solution too. If you prefer that solution, by all means, feel free to implement it. Now keep in mind the order of these things matter. What will happen if I include the header first and then fill the page title variable after? Let's see. Now I get this, undefined variable. So if the header is going to display this variable on line 5, the variable has to be assigned a value before the header gets embedded. So the order matters here. So we have this shared header now. It's really not doing anything. All it's doing is including Bootstrap and our JavaScript. So we want to use a Bootstrap Navigation Bar so we can build a nav bar with a page title that's a link, as well as has other links on there. So there's a link on D2L. In the Lesson 8 folder, there's a link here, Bootstrap 5 nav bars. So let's open up that link. I'll put the link in the chat as well if that makes life easier. So there's a bunch of different nav bars here. And we want to come down to this section. There's a sub navigation here. There's one that says supported content and nav. You can just click on that. That'll jump you down the page. So we want a nav bar that's kind of similar to this. We'll change some of the styles, but it's got a title of the site that typically links back to the homepage of the site. And then there's a few sample links here. So we'll start with this, and if you actually just copy this whole nav bar, you can copy it to your clipboard. So I'm going to copy that. And then in my header, I'm going to paste that whole nav bar in. Bootstrap. Nav bar from and I'll put in the source of where I got it. So this nav tag, this nav bar should now be embedded at the top of both of our pages. Again, we've got a single header, so we're going to make a bunch of changes to this, but at least it's in one file now. Whatever changes we make to the nav bar, so if I refresh, now I've got this sample nav bar, and we go to add an item, it's shared on both. So just copy that whole navigation bar, and then we can start to make some changes to it. These links don't necessarily make sense. We want this to say lamp food instead of navbar, and we can also style it. We don't have to keep those colors. So let's make a few changes to the navbar template that Bootstrap offers. So in my header, the first thing I want to change is here. The first link that has a class of navbar brand. So that makes it in a bigger font and kind of adds additional padding around it. I want to change this to say lamp food. So this is typically the name of our site, or we could replace this with a logo, which I don't have time to make right now. We've then got some links here, home, features, and features pricing, as well as a disabled link. So let's change some of these. The first link will go to items.php. And we'll change that to say grocery list. My features and pricing links, I'm just going to change those to say register and log in. And we'll build these pages. We'll start building register and log in next week. So we'll just leave those as dead links for now. The last link that says disabled, I'll get rid of that one. We don't actually need it. So now my nav bar, I'll save. So we've got register and login that don't go anywhere, as well as our grocery list that takes us back to the items page. Now, if I want to make a few formatting changes, on the Bootstrap page, there's also a couple links down that says color schemes. So if we want maybe like this blue with white, it says we can change the classes to navbar-dark and BG primary. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to change a couple of the class definitions on my nav tag so that our gray navbar with kind of gray text becomes more of this royal blue navbar with white text. I'll put this whole thing up on Pastebin in a minute. So I'm going to change navbar light to navbar dark. And I'm going to change BG light to BG primary. And later on, we'll also move these register and login links over here. We won't worry about that for today. So now we have a kind of cleaner looking nav bar and we can navigate around. Let me put the navigation bar up on Pastebin. So here's the nav bar currently. Now, Bootstrap also gives us our navigation bar should be responsive. If I collapse my site down, notice it gives me the little hamburger menu. But when I click, our menu's not opening. So there's a fix for this. Simple fix. If we look at our JavaScript folder, when we installed the Bootstrap CSS and we downloaded the bundle, it also comes with its own JavaScript. So we need to include Bootstrap's JavaScript library in order for our little mobile-friendly, they call this a hamburger menu, to expand and contract. So we can just go to our header so Bootstrap JS for CSS animations. So we'll add a new JavaScript. Oops. And our source for this is JS. And we'll link to the minified Bootstrap JavaScript. So adding this in our header should make our mobile menu now expand and contract. So I'll just go back and try it. And now we get our little mobile responsive menu. Cool. We'll make one more change to this in a minute. Are there any questions so far? So we've built a shared header at the top. like every website has. We don't have anything at the bottom. So I also want to create a shared footer. So we're going to make a separate file, a footer.php, and embed it on both our pages. Then we want to make a home page that also describes our site. And then we can activate this link at the top, which right now doesn't go anywhere. So let's go ahead and make a footer. We'll make a new PHP file called footer. We want to get rid of some of this HTML and we want to keep some of it. What should we get rid of and what should we keep? If this component is going to go at the bottom of every page. Thank you, Megan. So let's get rid of everything above line 9. And I'll just put in a footer here. And I'll use some Bootstrap classes. So it'll be a dark gray footer. It should expand and fill the whole width of the page. And it'll have white text at a 50% opacity. And we'll center the text on here. And we'll put in maybe a small, let's see. So you can put in whatever you want. I'll just put this in as a little copyright statement. You could put your name and student number in if you like. You could put a link to the GitHub repository that has the code. Let's put this up on. We'll see how this footer looks. We might make some changes to it. So now I want to embed the footer both on our items page as well as on our item details. So I'm going to go back to those two pages. Down at the bottom of items, I'm going to get rid of the end tags. And inside my PHP tags, we'll just include the footer. And then I'll copy that line. And I'll do the same thing on my item details page. Scroll to the bottom. Here, though, we need a set of PHP tags. So I've removed the closing body and closing HTML from the individual pages because those things now live in the footer. So I'll save all those files. So I get a footer at the bottom here, as well as at the bottom here. And yeah, I could probably add some more spacing here. Should probably space this out a little bit. I'll leave it for now. Now I want to create a new page that has our header and footer. I basically want a home page with the description of our website. And when we click lamp food in the navigation bar, it should go to that home page. So this will be a really simple page. I'm going to make a new PHP file that I will call index. I'm going to get rid of all of the HTML because this is going to be the header and this is going to be the footer. So I'm going to actually delete everything. So we'll set our page title to just maybe say welcome. We'll include the header. Down at the bottom, we'll include the footer. And I'll just put on some static content here that explains what this site is. So I use a container class to give us a bit of padding. And I'll put on a description of the website. Freudian slip. Always, Ivan, yes. You don't have to copy my description. You can put in anything you like. And I'll also put in the link to my GitHub repository. So here's all the code. I'll put it on Pastebin. I'll upload it to GitHub as well when we take a break. Here's the link. But I will put in the link to my source code as well. So now if I go to my index, here's the home page. And now I just want to change the link in our navbar so this lamp food link loads my index page. So I'll go back to my header. And this first link right now, it just goes to, doesn't go anywhere. So I'm going to change that lamp food link so it loads the home page. So you can see how building a new page is easy when we have that shared header and footer. We set the page title, we include the header, we include the footer, and then the individual page content just goes in the middle. So now I can navigate around the site. We'll deal with register and log in next week. Are there any questions so far about using includes for our header and footer sharing? Now, there's one other thing we want to share that we talked about earlier, that I think Mason mentioned, which is our database connection. Right? We're using this database connection in our items page. We use it in the item details page. We use it in delete item and in save item. Every one of these, it's repeated, which is really inefficient. So what I want to do is I want to move the database connection to a new file and just include that file any place we need the database. So that way our credentials are only stored in one spot. So take your database connection line, from any of your files and copy it to your clipboard. And we're going to make a new PHP file. We'll give it a really short, simple name. We'll call it db.php. Again, we don't need any header or footer. There's no visual representation of this page. There's no HTML output. It's simply code. So just clear out the file. And we'll open up a set of PHP tags. And we'll paste it in. We can now go to our 4 files. You can see them on my screen, but I'll put them in the chat. We've got items, item details, save item, and delete item. All 4 of these pages use the database. I'm going to replace the connection on each one of those with my include file. So I'm going to go to items. Now here, we also have the credentials in there, but I'm just going to take those lines out. And now I'm just going to replace this line with include. So now that DB variable is declared and created, and the connection is now happening in our database file. I'm going to do the same thing on the other 3 files, on item details. Oh, that's a good idea, Adil. Thank you. Very good idea. Thanks for that. I am going to do that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave that out for the moment because I don't just want the connection. in the try catch, but later on, we want all of the database operations in the try catch as well. So we'll come back to that after the break. So I'm actually just going to take it out for now, and we'll deal with some error handling around this after. But I want the rest of the database code as well. Now PHP, if you're in PHP Storm like me, it's now going to complain because this DB variable is no longer declared in this file. It lives over here instead. That's okay. You can just ignore that warning. So in item details, again, I'll include db.php. In delete, I'll just include the file, as well as in save, in all of these. So if we have to make changes now to our database connection, we've only got a single file to change. So I want to just quickly run through and make sure I can still add, edit, and delete, and my database still works. We know it works on this page. Entry. Right. Interesting. That did not work. Let's see why. If I delete two now. Okay, that worked. What if I edit? Does that work? Okay, so I'll have to fix my adding. Not sure why, but I can edit, delete, and view. So now our database code is modular. We'll deal with the error handling after. So Adil, thank you for bringing it up. You're one step ahead of me. One more quick optional thing I'm going to do just because I have a few minutes, and some of you may be interested in, some of you may not care. Right now, we're just using the Bootstrap colors and styles, which is okay, but in a real world application, you probably don't want your site to look exactly like Bootstrap. And in many cases, we would have to use colors that are provided to us by, that match with our client's brand, for example. So I'm just going to show you a quick and easy way if I want to customize. So maybe I still want this to be blue, I still want this to be kind of a dark gray, but I don't necessarily want these colors definitions that come just straight from Bootstrap. So put up a link here to the Google Design Palettes. So Google has come up with a series of design palettes. They're sort of colors that work together. So you can click on a palette and it gives you the hexadecimal values of colors in the palette. So if I pick, let's say, this blue-gray, or no, maybe this light blue. Let's say I want to choose this to be my navbar, and then for our footer, I want to use this color. We can override the primary color that comes with Bootstrap to be this blue, and we can override the footer to be this gray color. So here's how I will do that. I'm going to click on my accent color. It's copied the hex value directly to my clipboard. Again, this is entirely optional. If you're not interested in this, that's fine. But some of you might be. So I'm going to go to, oh, we don't even have our own style sheet. So I want to create my own style sheet, and then I'm going to override some of the colors that come with Bootstrap. So I'm going to make a new style sheet. I'll call it styles.css. This will be custom styles and Bootstrap overrides. So I'm going to define primary, BG primary, and BT, oops, should be dot. I'm going to change the background color to this color that I found on the material design site. I'm also going to change my BG dark color to this. So if I click on this color, now copied this one. And I'll paste that in. So now I've got this kind of bright blue against this darker gray. I now need to link this new style sheet into the header. And you can play around and use any colors you like. You don't have to do this at all if you don't want to, if you don't care. So now I'll go to my header, and I'm also going to include my own style sheet. So we're using Bootstrap, but we're also using our own custom styles so we can override Bootstrap where we want to. I'll see how this looks, and if I don't like it, then maybe I'll pick different colors. But this will change the buttons, it'll change the color of our navigation bar. I can't tell if it actually changed. The colors are so close. I don't think so. What did I do wrong? Maybe I have to put my style sheet first before Bootstrap. If not, I'll let it go and I'll figure it out on my own time. Okay, so that's changed, and it is now showing me see. Okay, I've just done something small wrong. Okay, I will figure it out. Maybe on the break. Something small is wrong. It hasn't quite applied my styles yet. And I don't think that's not the right color at the bottom either. I will figure it out. Okay. So what we're going to do, we will take a pause here. I will upload everything I've done to GitHub so far. And I haven't answered your question. When we come back, we're going to add some error handling, which shouldn't take us too long, and we will call it a day. And you can get out in the 8-degree sunshine before the sun drops. Okay, we'll come back in 10 minutes.